Hello World Wide Web, I'm Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. As a film reviewer, I often get asked exactly what was the first movie I ever watched. Most people assumed it was an Alien, but I distinctly remember it was not, though I couldn't exactly put my finger on what it was. Simply because it was so damn long ago, but I vaguely remembered images of horrifying scenes with helpless people being eaten alive by ungodly monsters. And no, not xenomorphs. What do you think, I spent the 80s watching Smurfs? Still, I couldn't quite figure out just what the movie was. Until a recent conversation. It had that scene with the guy who did that thing, and then stuff happened.
You mean Beastmaster?
Yeah. Maybe. After a little bit of research, it turns out Creepy was right, and indeed, the first movie I have any recollection of in my mind is none other than the 1982 fantasy film, The Beastmaster, starring Mark Singer. Might have found it a little faster had I not assumed it was a horror movie, but anyway, what is The Beastmaster? The Beastmaster is a fantasy adventure film from the 80s. While this might raise some flags that it is just a ripoff of Conan the Barbarian, it should be noted that this film actually came out the same year as Conan, so it may just be coincidence. Or an Asylum-style cash-in thrown together over a weekend. Nevertheless, you have your mostly naked guys fighting death, adventure, and naked women. But this film's unique twist is that the hero can communicate with beasts. Kind of like Aquaman, except on dry land. And people generally respect him. Anyway, let's take a look at The Beastmaster and see the first film that I remember reviewing. As the film opens, we are given a peek at a dark ritual involving three sexy ladies swaying their hips as they... Holy sweet fuck! Mother of John Merrick. Why the hell would you do that to us, movie?
You will die at the hands of Zedd's unborn son.
Well, I guess it does help to make that kind of news considerably less shocking. This introduces us to Mayax, played by Rip Torn, who you may recognize as Zedd from Men in Black. Of course, in this movie, Zedd is the king, played by Rod Loomis.
I demands the life of an unborn.
I will not allow the sacrifice of an innocent.
The unborn child is yours.
Sure, why not? Just tell the king you intend to murder his child. I hope for your sake your henchmen are smarter than you. Well, at least they're more efficient. Therefore, Mayax is banished, but that doesn't stop his plan, as one of his cunnilingus dissonance witches manages to sneak into the king's private chamber. Okay, I can see the sexy ugly bitch may be able to sneak past whatever security's there into the royal sleeping chamber, but how exactly was she able to smuggle that ox in there? The king's guards royally suck! Using Wolf's handy blue goo from Requiem, she paralyzes the king and queen long enough to magically transfer the child from the queen's womb into the ox's womb, killing the queen. A very impressive feat, especially considering that one scene earlier that ox had a dick. And this is some serious bull right here. All this careful planning of dire importance to ensure Mayax's survival must not be that important, however, as one random passerby finds a lone witch preparing to sacrifice the baby and is easily able to fuck everything up. This is not what they mean when they say bad witches are ugly. And she looks like an old lady from an Elder Scrolls game after someone installs a sexy armor mod. Is it their bosses that this movie is referring to when they say The Beastmaster? Fortunately, a random peasant is saved by the power of bad choreography, preventing the death of the child. Just like any recently acquired kid, he trains the lad in the art of fighting, and when he learns of the boy's power to communicate with animals, makes sure it is kept secret from all for no apparent reason. I mean, magical interspecies prenatal transportation performed by horrifyingly ugly hot babes is one thing, but speaking with animals, that's kind of weird. Unsurprisingly, he grows up a farmer, until one fateful day when his village is attacked by the evil Jun Horde. You know they're evil because their leader has bat wings on his helmet. You know, in case the head on a stick he carries around isn't overt enough. And they proceed to slaughter all the villagers. Why? Because they're evil, clearly. If they wanted slaves, I'm sure they'd capture at least a few of them instead of killing every last one. And if they wanted supplies, they probably would collect some before they burn everything to the ground. But the point is, they're evil, and kill everyone. except for the boy, now grown into Mark Singer, who plays the role of Dar, who is our big heroic hero of heroism. And that's pretty much as far as his character traits go. Hold on though, he's also got to be a master of the beast, so in short order, he happens to befriend a bird of prey. Yeah, it's very impressive, but don't get too full of yourself. I mean, it's not like you're Jesus. Never mind. Now that he's slightly naked-er, the most important characters show up, the ferrets, who proceed to steal Dar's clothes. Oh no, whatever shall he do if he shows up to town with 2 less leather strips strapped to his butt? I mean, people will think him a deviant. Then again, maybe the ferrets are actually trying to kill the man. Cinematic cliche that doesn't actually work that way in reality, number 46.
Well, how about a little help? Come on. You two got me into this, now get me out. Thanks.
What exactly did he expect them to do? Throw together an ingenious pulley system to hoist him up, presumably before he drowns? At least due to the power of movie magic, they're able to break the branch before he goes under, and said branch is somehow still strong enough for him to pull himself out with. Then, saving one ferret from the crisis he himself caused, Dar opts to bring them along for his adventure. Introducing us to Cotto and Peru, who are arguably the most important characters in the film. What use are ferrets to a warrior? Why, espionage, of course, and comic relief, which often gets so silly you start to wonder if you're watching a kid's movie. But by how this is going, the next beasts he's going to master are going to be an iguana and a schnauzer. However, as luck would have it, he happens to run into a far more ferocious and useful beast in short order. His black tiger, which is actually a regular tiger dyed black. Which is actually even worse than it sounds, because Sultan, the tiger who played Ra, got a horrible skin disease from the toxic black dye they used to turn him black for this movie, which killed him in 2 years. Yeah. Is there any reason you couldn't just let him be a regular tiger, assholes? Well, we need something to cheer us up after that, so how about some naked women by a waterfall? Depression, animals, and boobs. I feel like I'm browsing DeviantArt. Speaking of deviant, you remember our heroic hero of heroism, Dar? Well, it just so happens that he turns into a complete douchebag whenever he's remotely aroused, so he uses his powers for evil!
Don't move. The beast is fierce.
Quick, lie down and play dead while I use my impressive manhood to frighten this beast away. Now that's pretty close to what he does, as Dar forcing himself onto the woman is how we are introduced to Kiri, played by Tanya Roberts.
I am Kiri, slave to the priests of the Temple of Or.
They whip you like a beast.
Just to clarify, have we gone into S&M territory, movie? Anyway, she's not going to be important until later, so she leaves and we move on to a peculiarly glowy tree from out of nowhere. Oh yeah, this is the scene I remember from when I was like 4 years old. How did it go again? There's the guy in the cage who is cut loose and tries to flee, only to be engulfed by whatever the fuck this horrifying monster thing is, which Dar doesn't bother to help with. And then... this scene really confused me as a kid, so I asked my dad. And he told me that that was hell. Which confused me even more, because if it's hell, then he's already dead, right? So he can't die again. So, what, does he come back the next day? It's really more of an inconvenience. Things don't look all that good for our hero, but fortunately it turns out that he knows the guy that owns this place, so the horrifying monsters that eat people let him leave, but not without giving him some swag to remember them by. A small medallion with a hawk on one side, and on the other side, I survived Nightmare Death Tree and all I got was this lousy trinket. Nevertheless, his quest continues as he seeks revenge against the Junho, or goes to the Temple of Art to find that slave girl and try to get laid. Same difference.
Receive this child as as a gift from your devoted servant.
This kid seems awful nonplussed about this whole impending sacrifice thing. Reactions, people.
War is not yet satisfied.
Even their god didn't give a shit. But when the priests set their sights on the little girl, suddenly it's time to be horrified. Don't worry though, our heroic hero is here to help. Not sure why he didn't bother to try this trick when that little boy was chucked into the fire, but oh well.
See? I has spoken, he wants your children!
And he's getting very direct with it. Don't think about it too much though. Trust me, it's still important to burn them once in a while. Using the power of Ferret, Dar returns the child that night, and in return is granted exposition about how the king's son went missing, Queen died, and the king is being held prisoner in the pyramid. How the hell the priesthood is able to very overtly imprison the king and no one does a fucking thing about it, I don't know, but there's your plotline.
I wants this stranger. Bring him to me, this master of the beasts. This ring will lead you to him.
Actually, no it won't. The ring only works to show the people staring into the cauldron what is going on near the wearer. It doesn't do shit to track anybody down. Who cares about that, though? It's a good enough excuse to teleport the bad guys right to Dar, resulting in a confrontation that leads him to meet up with John Amos, who plays the role of Seth the Pilgrim, and Joshua Millerad as Tal.
We are pilgrims on our way to worship at the Temple of Ar.
I, too, am on my way to worship at the Temple of Ar.
There's safety in numbers. Perhaps we should travel together.
I feel like I just watched the most awkward D&D roleplay of characters joining a campaign. Now that they're all buddy-buddy, may as well be completely open about his thieving ferrets and life of crime.
They steal just about anything they can get their hands on, as you can see. Rings, trinkets, stones. If you like that ring, keep it.
Yeah, Mayax put a lot of effort into making that thing. You may as well let him get some use out of it. He also learns that the slave he met earlier is a bit more important to the plot than she seemed.
Who is this girl?
My cousin, Kiri.
So, Kiri is Tal's cousin, Tal is another son of Zedd, and therefore Dal's half-brother. Which makes that scene of Dal forcing himself on Kiri a whole lot more uncomfortable all of a sudden. However, this particular point is ignored, as Dar is busy using his telepathic hawk vision powers to find out where the priests are taking Kiri to be sacrificed. But as luck would have it, it turns out they were going to use an extremely easy-to-exploit ferry service along the way, giving our heroes the perfect opportunity to swoop in and save one of the 5 women and show off their studded leather, armor?
Tie them.
Tight leather and rope bondage. Here is where the movie officially digs into fetish territory.
Hey, wait a minute, have you been sitting there and watching the whole time?
Of course. I wasn't about to miss out on watching muscular guys wearing only about 1 square foot of leather as outfits.
After this, Kiri helps convince him to try to free the king by probably related. We've established this now, so continuing on this love interest path is not really working. Moving on, Seth splits off the group to find aid, while Dar goes back to town to give this man the bird.
Oh no, not you. Why me? I'm a coward. Couldn't you just fly back and tell him you couldn't find me? Oh, all right, I'm coming.
So can random villager communicate with animals too? Because sure looks that way. With his help, they sneak back into the city. Why they needed to do this, I don't know, especially considering thanks to the ring, Mayax already knows they're here and makes no attempt to prevent their entry anyway. This gives them enough time to exposit information on why there happen to be fetish gimps running around in this movie.
Extreme torture transforms the man into a wild beast.
Which is just the way he likes it.
We have to steal those keys.
Clearly, because the fact that every door up to this point has been unlocked and unguarded must mean that they're saving the really good defenses for later. Before the ferrets can finish the job, though, Super Gimp activates, killing the priests and resulting in a comedy chase between the killer S&M icon and the animals. It's like the most fucked up children's movie I've ever seen.
He's there.
We need those keys.
It's open.
So, you risk their lives for nothing. As it turns out, King Zedd has been stricken blind while off screen, so after a short, incredibly unimpressive scuffle with Mayax, the group leads the king to safety. However, Dar can't go yet. He has to save the ferrets.
A little late.
Not one to be smart, Kiri stays behind so she can join Dar as they flee for their lives from the crazy guy who is interested in far too rough sex. Their pursuer winds up falling to his death, but when the two of them fall from almost the same height, it's onto a convenient 6-inch cushion of hay, so they suffer no loss of hit points. Hey, it works in Assassin's Creed, why not? Unfortunately, he can't just parkour over this minuscule gate, so by utilizing a combination of the ferrets and a football to the groin, they manage to evade the Gimp army in the nick of time. Unfortunately, though, King Zedd's lengthy incarceration with said Gimps may not have been too good for his cognitive functions, as when Dar points out that defeating Mayax will only manage to piss off the June Horde, the king calls him a coward and a freak. Of course, he doesn't know that Dar is his son. Though if he did, he'd probably just resort to spanking him. Therefore, Dar must leave and feel sad for a while, until the king learns of his grave strategic error, which he does shortly as Seth notices the eye-ring catching wind of their entire plan of attack.
Lord Zedd, we must run. Mayax knows our plan.
Mayax shall die.
We are doomed.
Make that until Zedd commits said strategic error. Which we don't even get to see, only hearing from our useful town person that the attack failed, everyone was recaptured, and they're about to be sacrificed. Otherwise known as the last hour of the movie has pretty much been erased. Look on the bright side, though. Climax time. Dar rides into the town, single-handedly defeating the lines that so easily foiled the king off-screen. And strangely, even after they captured him, they let Seth keep his S&M gear.
Well, they had to. Seth got all of those invitations to bondage parties, and he couldn't very well RSVP on such short notice.
Kiri is first up to be sacrificed, which continues despite the attack and all the shit hitting the fan. Of course, we learn here that Mayax is a very timid guy when it comes to his sacrifices, as despite her being right there for minutes on end, he keeps getting distracted and having to slowly raise the knife again and again. Ah, damn it, Dar, I'm busy! Come back later! We'll be having barbecue. Do I really have to say anything? At this point, Mayax mentions to Zedd that his long-lost son has come to see him, and then he kills him. Oh well, moving on, Dar does battle with Mayax, quickly ending it by having the man stab himself, yet he doesn't bother to toss him into the fire. I mean, it's right there. Poetic justice? No? Even worse, this oversight gives him the chance to recover. But don't worry, Cotto is there to save the... What? Cotto died? What? Why is a ferret the most emotional death in this movie? Wait a minute, what about the prophecy? The whole thing that Mayax said the witches, and they said that Dar was going to kill Mayax, so he did all this to try and... They got it wrong. It was Cotto. It's kind of a big mistake. I mean, king's son, ferret. I mean, if the guys weren't all already dead, I'd seriously recommend hiring some new ones. Never mind that. Happy ending. The priesthood has been defeated, and...
John!
Oh, Right, murderous army. Forgot about that one. So, let's move on to the second climax, shall we? The Horde shows up, but falls right into the tar moat the villagers disguised with a thin layer of dirt. Don't worry about this being too big a battle, though, as most of the villagers hide behind the gate, which Dar parkours over just in time to watch the Horde burn. Honestly, this is a pretty damn entertaining battle. While the choreography isn't much better than the rest of the movie, the fire, plus the fact that many actors continue to fight while on fire, is great to watch. Of course, all hope seems lost, but then... This is why people don't like working with necromancers. I understand the monsters are part of Team Good here, but this is horrifying and disgusting. Who cares about that, though? Happy ending! The people are free, and despite the fact that Seth now knows that Dar is the true heir to the throne, Dar insists that Tal should rule as king instead. I guess all that's left to do is... remember that she's related to you? I mean, you clearly know about your bloodline, so there's really no excuse at this point. I was hoping this movie would end on a slightly better note. The Beastmaster is honestly quite a mess of a film. There's not much to the plot per se, but there's so much going on with both the character actions and the specific direction the movie had from scene to scene, it feels less like a fantasy movie and more of a cross-genre film. That would be a cross between fantasy, horror, and Disney-esque family film. A peculiar mix, but to be honest, it works for it. What the film lacked in consistency, it made up for in entertainment. That's a bit surprising considering the shortcomings in many key areas. The acting, while passable, wasn't anything to write home about, and the fight choreography left a lot to be desired. On the good side, the pacing was well done, and while the story didn't take place over too many different areas, the sets were varied enough. My favorite parts, to be honest, were the ferret antics. They were jarring and silly, yes, but entertaining, and a sign that this movie knew not to take itself too seriously. Overall, The Beastmaster is popcorn entertainment that doesn't try to be anything more, and does a relatively good job with that ambition, but as it's not particularly awe-inspiring or the like, it comes in at 3 super hot, sexy babes of "oh fucking god, kill it with fire!" out of 5. And thus, I finally review the first movie that I ever remember seeing. Well, I did critique it when I was 4, but that was more what I was told about the movie rather than the film itself. Never mind. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado. And remember, if the prophecy had been correct, we would have avoided this entire thing. No way in hell he was going to believe that he actually would be killed by the hands of a ferret.